and I'm delighted to welcome onto our couch this evening one of Cork's fairest sons, certainly one of nature's gentlemen, and a Cork man, originally from Nuns Walk, has worked in New York and for the last 22 years has been working on Cork's Oliver Plunkett Street, initially in Seville Menswear and now in Keanes Jewellers on Oliver Plunkett Street. So Kevin McCarthy, you're very welcome to the couch on Cork Live TV.
Thank you, Nick.
So Kevin, if we can start off with a good news story and something that certainly, I'm sure, made your summer. You got married during the summer, congratulations.
I did, thank you very much. 11 weeks now.
11 weeks and still talking?
We're still talking, still very happy.
Still very happy. Yourself and Philip have been in a relationship for how long?
12 years.
12 years, fantastic. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And I think that certainly was a fantastic summer, but if we can go back maybe 4 years, it looked like things might not be quite as positive. So would you mind to bring us back to that time and we can maybe talk and see how you got on?
I did. I got very bad news in October, year 13. I was diagnosed with bowel cancer, and it's amazing how one word can change your whole life, that you have cancer. And from that day on, I was diagnosed with bowel, and what they said is that, I'm sorry, I just...
It's okay, take your time.
It's...
I remember we were talking beforehand, Kevin, and you were telling me that really you felt not too unwell. You felt a little bit tired, and you had a little bit of change in how you were using the toilet, and you went to your GP and you were sent for some tests.
Well, I went to my GP and he did some tests on me, and he came back to me and he said, look, he said, for your age, he said that would you go for a scope? And I actually went for a scope. And the day I went for my scope, they discovered that I had a growth on my bowel, and they said it was a tumour. They said that I had to look into it more. Within 2 weeks, I went for more tests, and they discovered that I had bowel cancer. Within a few weeks, I ended up getting an operation on my bowel, and I ended up with a bag for 11 months. The day that I was told that I have cancer, which is a very powerful word to me because it changed my whole life, and thank you to my partner, which is now my husband, said to me, he said, we're going to get through this. And in fairness, that he's been a rock to me since, and it was just that I had to prove to myself that I would get through this because of all the negative of cancer. And I said to myself, well, I looked it up, and there's great positive stories about cancer at the moment, and saying that there's great survival. There's more people alive with cancer than there is dead at the moment, they were saying to me. So I said to myself, look, I can get through this, and I had a very positive attitude about it. But when I was first discovered with it, I said to myself, what am I going to do? My life has ended. I didn't know what I was going to do. I said, what kind of help am I going to get? And I realised that the Mercy Hospital, where I got my operation, were very, very helpful. They gave me great support. And when I went into work and I decided, look, I'm not going to give up work, I decided, look, could you keep me on as I go through my treatments? And they said, of course, and they were very, very supportive. My family was very, very supportive of it. And the more people that were supportive of it with me, the more I was more positive with it. I found myself that the more I read about what I was diagnosed with, is that I said to myself, my life is going to get better rather than worse.
That's a very powerful story, Kevin, and genuinely thanks for sharing that with us. We were talking earlier, I suppose as a practicing doctor, we like to think that we get things right. And I think you told a very interesting story to me earlier about when you were after your first test result, and you kind of got a sniff that something wasn't right. I thought it was very interesting, and it was very subtle. So you just tell us about that afternoon. And
I remember when I went in and I got my scope, and normally when you come out and they put you back into the room to rest, and I noticed that all the other patients were leaving before I was, and normally because you're on a fast for 24 hours before the surgery, I noticed that everybody was getting their tea and toast. So I did ask, can I get my tea and toast? And very subtly they said, oh, yours is on the way. So all of a sudden, so all of a sudden, I noticed that there was another few patients leaving, and I was still left there with no tea and toast. And eventually somebody came in and they said, look, we just have to do more tests. And as soon as that was said to me, I knew there was something wrong. The longer that I was waiting for my tea and toast, the more I was saying, oh my God, there's definitely something wrong. Because when they said they had to do more tests, I said to myself, definitely. And eventually they came in and they did more tests on me. And then they said to me, they said, could you give Philip a call? We need to have Philip with you, and we're going to have a chat with you. And as soon as they told me to give Philip a call, I knew myself, there's definitely something wrong.
Okay. And when Philip came in, I think, I was surprised by your reaction, because you felt yourself that you knew the news was bad, but you felt yourself the need to be strong for Philip, which is amazing. Well,
we were both sat down and the doctor just mentioned, look, we're going to do some surgery on you. And myself and Philip, Philip was very, very strong with me. And because you hear bad news and you at the first time and you're just sitting next to each other, and as I said, the word cancer is a very, very powerful word. Mm-hmm. And I just thought to myself, my life is finished. Philip got very upset, and when I saw Philip getting so upset, it's there and then I decided I have to be strong for Philip. And I must admit, he was absolutely amazing to me afterwards, because he was the person that got me through it, really. He was my rock, and he actually did more research into it, and he was able to look after me more. The hospital was very, very supportive. They were absolutely fantastic. And I must admit, there was more support from friends, families, work colleagues, even my own neighbours that I haven't seen for years, came knocking on the door and asking me, what can they do for me?
Fantastic. So you found the hospital service to be fabulous. Like you were saying earlier, that there was only 2 or 3 weeks between your initial tests and your operation.
From my very first scope to my second test, they were so efficient and so fast on getting my operation organised for me. Within 4 weeks of being diagnosed, they said to me, you're in. And I was in for my operation within the 2 weeks, and within 10 days I was back out of hospital. Now, I was supposed to be out of hospital within a couple of days after the surgery, but unfortunately I did get an infection, and it just made it that little bit slower of being released from hospital. But I must admit, they were absolutely supportive to me, and I must admit the Mercy Hospital were absolutely fantastic.
It is fantastic to hear that, because I mean, we get daily bashing of our health service, and for certain a lot of that is justified, but my experience working in the service is that when there's a call to action for somebody with cancer, that the services work very well. So I'm delighted that you were able to tell that story. I'm also privileged that I know you for longer than those 4 years, right? So I knew you through your treatment, and I have to say it was remarkable how positive you were. And you're even, I think you were telling me earlier that even on the day after your operation, that you were up and walking down the corridor, and the doctor.
I was. Even one of the nurses in the hospital, she said, you know, most people take about 3 days to get out of the bed after the surgery. I was up walking the corridors, and I was up and down the corridors, and I actually met a few patients, and we shared our stories. And some of the patients told amazing stories and how they were able to get through it, and they gave me hints on how I survive. My biggest fear was having a bag, because I'm very proud about my appearance. And as one of the patients I met up there, Frances, she was absolutely excellent to me. She taught me all about the bag and how to support the bag when it's on you. My fear was that, how do I keep the bag onto me? But like, there's so many different types of bags now, and even when I had a bag, they're very, very discreet.
You were telling me that
yes,
you were at work, and
I went to work after my surgery, after my bag, after I'd been out of hospital for a couple of weeks. I went back to work, and I had a bag for 11 months. But during the 11 months as well, I got 6 months of chemotherapy. Now, a lot of people do get affected after when they hear that they have to go for chemo, but my biggest fear was having the bag, because I didn't know like if it's going to leak. I was told some days it could fall off. You could be in a busy place, you could be travelling, which I love travelling, and they said that your bag could just come away from you. But the first couple of weeks it took me a while to get used to it, and then once I got used to it at all, I knew exactly how
You
to
have a
keep
lovely
it on.
story about a customer coming into Keanes on Albert Plunket Street, and she confided in you that she was going to have an operation and might have a bag, and you were able to tell her on the day, well, you know what, I'm at work and I have my bag on. So I think that gave her great confidence, didn't it?
A customer approached me and said, look, that they're very worried about themselves, because they said they're going for surgery and they could end up with a bag. And I said, would you believe now? I said, you're standing in front of somebody that's wearing a bag at the moment. And they couldn't believe it. I said, they are very discreet now these days. You know, you can go to work, you can do a normal life. I actually went swimming with my bag. They are totally waterproof. Now, when I said I go swimming, I went swimming with a t-shirt on, obviously.
Tested in the bath.
But I did test in the bath. I did get into the bath and sat in the bath for about a half an hour to make sure that it wouldn't come away from me. But after that then, because I was going on holidays and I travelled, and even when I was going through security, there is medical cards that you do get, and you can give to the security people when you're going through, and they just come and they just tap your sides to make sure that it's the bag that's on you. And so it's very nerve-wracking at the start, but then you do get used to it.
And you're now 4 years down the line.
I'm 4 years now down the road, and I'm still as happy. And would you believe now, I'm actually more healthier now than I was 3 years ago, because after my chemotherapy, my last dose of it, I actually felt healthier, because a lot of people said that you get side effects from it, but that's one thing I didn't get. I didn't get many side effects. I did get the small tingles in my hands and, you know, pins and needles, but when I finished it, I actually feel healthier. I look healthier than I ever did before.
Kevin McCarthy, I think that is a fantastic note to end on. Thank you, Kevin,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we might just say that Kevin's treatment was in the Mercy Hospital in Cork. I think that's a fantastic story for the Mercy Hospital, that you can get such high standard of care, like really world-class care, in a local Cork hospital. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the nightly show on Cork Live TV. We would appreciate if you could comment, like, and maybe share our page. We're aware that we're getting views all over the world. We have views in Glasgow, we have views in Fife in Scotland, we have views all over the world. So please, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have more of the same, more Cork news for you guys if you'd like, comment and share. Thank you very much.